Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm just going to be speaking about Vanguard, one of the most recognized platforms for passive investing. So Vanguard has been it's been around for the longest time. They do index funds, they do mutual funds, they do ETFs, they do life strategy and also targeted retirement funds as well. Now I'm just going to be giving you a really beginner overview of the Vanguard platform and a bit of an explanation of each fund as well in a bit more detail. Hopefully you can take this information to help you on your own research, and then hopefully maybe you can invest and so on as well. So guys, let's jump right into it. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so here we are. So first of all, let's start with why Vanguard. So the main reason I personally prefer Vanguard to most brokers is because they're one of the lowest in terms of management fees. So you can see here it's just 0.10%, in comparison to, for example, I used to with Nutmeg, which was 0.75 plus other fees. It used to be over 1%. And essentially over a long time of period, that ends up to being a significant amount of money that just eats into a return. So it's something to really seriously consider. That's the main reason I like Vanguard. It's also been there for probably the longest time as well. And they kind of invented, the index funds actually. So they're kind of like the originators of this type of passive investing. So yeah, so it's a really quite clean platform, Vanguard, to use. I'll just start here maybe with a full list of the funds. Essentially, just before I go into that, they also do life strategy, target retirement funds, index and active, as well as ETFs. And then I'll go into more detail of each one and just briefly explain it as well. And for those of you based in the UK, you can have your Vanguard ISA, and you can also transfer it, just like I did. I transferred mine from Nutmeg because Nutmeg was way too expensive. So sometimes you might get slightly higher returns with other brokers, but because of the management fees, it pretty much doesn't make any sense to basically eat into your returns a bit too much. So yeah, so we got normal ISA, we have a junior ISA, general account if you don't have any specific goals, if you're just investing, and then of course we've got the pension as well, personal pension. Now I'm not 100% sure if you can have your own SIP, because I haven't really looked into that. Yeah. So first of all, let's check out the funds. So starting with the life strategy funds. So they're pretty self-explanatory. So here we have the first one, which is 20% equity fund. And what that means is that you have 20% of your allocation in stocks and 80% is in bonds, government bonds. So this is quite conservative. It's not really offensive. So it's quite kind of a safe investment in a way. It won't be very volatile at all. It's quite safe, but as a result, your returns are going to be also conservative as well. So I'll just go into more detail on this one. Okay, so if I go to product portfolio, so yeah, so this is inside of exactly what you would be holding. So we have some bonds. All of it is pretty much made out of bonds. So we have some global bond index. We've got some FTSE index, some UK government bonds, or we've got some US bonds. We've got European, UK again. So a lot of developed markets bonds, and a bit of APAC, Japan here as well. And for some reason, actually, they've also got this little 1.8% allocation to the emerging market stock index fund. I guess just to hedge, but to be completely honest, it won't really make any difference whatsoever when it comes to the returns of this fund. It's just not enough. So yeah, so this fund is very conservative, and you can expect low returns even over a long period of time. Excuse me. So just going back. Self-explanatory again. So you can see here it goes up in terms of equity. So this is 20, 40, and so on. So that's just the amount of breakdown of equity. The next one I'm going to go to is the 100% equity fund. Let's dive deeper into this one a bit more. So yeah, you can see here allocation 100% equity, and that's the charge as well, 0.022%. And you can see that it's a bit more riskier. So it's 5 out of 7. The first one, which I showed you, was 3 out of 7, if you still remember. And yeah, you can see here that the fund comprises of 100% shares. Now, if I just go into portfolio data and show you what's actually inside. So what we have here is 100% equity, 100% stocks, made up of different funds. So starting from the top again, we've got FTSE, which is the UK. We've got the US equity index. Now, just a little thing to point out here as well. So this one, the US equity index, is slightly different to the S&P. So this one includes all the total market index. So basically the entire US stock market. This only includes the top 500 companies, so the biggest 500 companies in the US. So just a minor differentiation there. I personally prefer this one, actually. If I was to pick one out of these two, I prefer the equity index fund US, because with the small companies, you also realize more growth, but they are more volatile, but you have more growth over the long term. And also just to point out as well, I know having a fund that's volatile doesn't mean it's risky if you're going to hold it for the long term. So yeah, anyway, I'll explain this differentiation in a bit more detail in the next thing. So we have, again, emerging markets fund, more UK here, FTSE 100, so the 100 biggest companies in the UK. ETF, we've got some APAC again, so Japan, Pacific, excluding Japan, and FTSE 250, so similar thing again. So we have FTSE 100, 100 biggest companies in the UK, and then FTSE 250, similar thing again, so 250 biggest companies within the UK. So I assume that this one includes probably some more medium equities as well, medium caps as well. And this one, of course, only includes the large caps. So that's life strategy in a nutshell. So this is really if you just want to be hands off and you don't really want to, get involved in the technicalities at all. And basically, a good way to choose is, your risk level. It's kind of probably the easiest way. So I would highly recommend that, if you're quite a young person like myself, you just have to go for 100% equity, because this is just way too conservative, and the returns over the long term just won't be worth it, in my opinion. And you can see here as well, they've got a fixed cost of 0.22%, the risk level here. And then we can also view it like this, but I would just try to keep it simple. Then the next thing we have is the target retirement funds, which are quite interesting. I don't personally invest in any of these. I will say what I invest in a second. So these, again, very similar to the life strategy funds. So you can see here, this is 35 equity, 49, 59, 64, and so on. And again, the closer you are to retirement, the more bonds you should have. And the further away you are to retirement, then you shouldn't have any bonds, in my opinion, or you can have 20% only. Now, this is quite interesting because you can see it from risk level. Again, it tells you the more bonds, the safer, the less bonds, or the more equities, the higher risk it is. So if I just go into one of these, just to explain it further. So these are the target retirement funds. So you can see here, so again, just to kind of summarize, so the closer you are to retirement, the more conservative you should be, and the further away you are to retirement, for example, 2065, then you can be a bit more adventurous and have more stocks than bonds. With Vanguard, if you were to invest in any of the target retirement funds, you would actually just have to, input your age, and then they kind of estimate roughly when they think you're going to retire. And then, as you get to retirement slowly over the years, then they kind of reallocate your fund. So they do all of that work for you, and kind of like, so for example, you could start off like this, and then over the years, it kind of gets more and more conservative. So they rebalance your portfolio for you. So it's quite useful. Again, if you want to be hands off, if you just want to have something targeted towards retirement. Now, going back again, so one for the life strategy, and then let's go into the equity funds. So these are all The 100%, these are all equity funds. So you can see we've got some European ones here and developed Europe, and you can see how risky they are as well. And again, the ongoing charges here are very, very cheap. Some of them are next to nothing. We've got German all cap, which is Germany's biggest economy within Europe. We've got FTSE developed market as well, which is quite interesting. And again, FTSE developed except UK. So that's pretty much all of developed Europe, excluding the UK. Again, 6, so it's quite a volatile. That's the reason that it's rated 6. And again, you've got some global funds, pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you can play around with this and go into each one. I've got FTSE Global Cap Index, which we've got some active ones here as well. And Global Small Cap Index Fund, which is essentially all the small caps around the world. So all the, I can't remember what the specific number is that defines what a small cap is, but basically all the smallest, even micro-sized, I'm sure, small cap companies, and yeah, and that's for the entire world. So if you just want to invest in the world, yeah, this is quite interesting actually. Again, it's 6, but I'd like to believe that this has quite decent returns. So it's more volatile. So if I just go into this one in a bit more detail, again, these are all the small stocks. So you can see this is the index that is tracking the MSCI World Small Cap Index, and it's got 4,000 stocks in there. If we go to portfolio data, you can see everything that's in here as well in a bit more detail. Again, North America is of course the heavier, because North America, or the US, is the biggest economy in the world and the biggest stock market as a result. And you can see everything here as well. Different sectors, and even holdings as well. So you can see the small cap companies here as well. And you can see, 4,322, all of them, if you wanted to scroll through. So yeah, so let's go down. We've got some FTSE 100, which is UK focused. So you've got ETFs, index fund as well. So you can see the ETF is extremely cheap. I mean, this is pretty much free. I mean, some Japan coverage, again, some APAC, so Japan stock market index fund. So this is the entire Japanese stock market as well, if you want to invest in that. We've got some Asia, APAC coverage. And then, yeah, North America or US. So this is where I was saying, so the main differences between the S&P 500 and the US equity index. So we have the biggest 500 companies in the US, and this is tracking the S&P, as you can see. And again, very, very small charge. This is compared to, for example, 0.75%. So yeah, so it's pretty much nothing. If we go to portfolio data again, and you can see again, 500 stocks, 100% North America. And then again, the sector, not surprisingly, we've got IT and healthcare. And the holdings, of course, we're going to have Apple and all the big cap companies as well. I'm pretty sure there's Tesla here somewhere, maybe in the second page or something. But yeah. So yeah, that's the S&P 500 in a nutshell. And then after that, we have the US index fund. So this is the entire total stock market of the US. We've got 3,500 stocks. If I go to portfolio data, again, North America, of course, again, IT heavy, healthcare. Then now you can see, so in terms of the different weights, so for example, with the S&P, we had 1%. Oh, sorry, if I just go previous, we had 6% of Apple. This one we got 5%. So this one is a bit more spread out in terms of the weighting of the companies. Again, you can see Tesla here with 1.36%. You do also have it in the S&P, but it just maybe a lower holding. So with this, the total stock market index, includes all the companies in the US stock exchange, in the US stock market. And you also get the advantage of the small caps, so small and medium caps. So basically, as an instance, when, for example, Tesla, before it entered the S&P 500, you didn't own Tesla, but if you had this fund, then you already had Tesla. So you would have had Tesla gains all the way through up until, well, and continuing when it's entered the S&P. So that's the reason I personally prefer the total stock market index accumulation fund over the S&P. It's not realistic to say that Apple is going to double anytime soon, but you are going to have a lot of companies here, small cap companies, which will be doubling. Of course, this is a bit more risky. By risky, I just mean it's more volatile. But over the long term, if you're holding for the long term, then it doesn't really matter how volatile it is. So yeah, that's the main differences. And then we've got emerging market stocks, so emerging market index. So that's all the emerging markets on one fund there for you. And yeah, then we have some fixed income, which is basically government bonds. Now, I wouldn't recommend anyone to touch that because, like I said earlier on in the video, the returns are just so small that it's not even worth even doing, in my opinion. Usually with bonds, just for a bit of an explanation, when the economy is doing well, bonds are really, really, they're not very good. When the economy is when there's crisis, then bonds tend to do quite well. But over the long term, I mean, it's just really better just to hold stocks, in my opinion. So just 100% equity, or some of the life strategy, 100% equity as well. So yeah, so that's Vanguard in a nutshell. If you did want to do like a side-by-side comparison, you can also do a detailed view, and you can kind of see all the funds against each other with the different changes as well. So you can see here some of the years, so from 2016, 2017, and so on and so on and so forth as well. So yeah, so if you want to be hands-on, you can build your own with using all these funds. You got European, global, US, emerging markets, UK, and so on. And if you don't want to be hands-on, if you just want to do this extremely passive, then you can just go for the blended life strategy funds. They do, I'm sure, just as a good job as well. Now, I prefer doing things myself. I usually just check this maybe every 3 months and rebalance my portfolio if I need to. But yeah, so I have mostly bias in the US. So I have the US index, total stock market index fund. And I also have the global, where is it? Yeah, and I also have this one. No, I don't. I do have this one. So global small cap index. So I feel this is basically owning all the small companies around the world. So yeah, if they do well, you're doing well. It's a bit more risky, but in the long term, it's quite very good returns. So yeah, so that's Vanguard in a nutshell. If you do really want to do, if you want to do passive investing, I really highly recommend Vanguard. Guys, hope that helps. Yeah.
Guys, thanks so much for watching this YouTube video. I hope that helped you to kind of give you an introduction to Vanguard, the platform, and also, I guess, your investment journey, kind of giving you like a stepping stone to do your own research and hopefully eventually start investing as well. Now, if you like this video, please like this video, and also if you need to subscribe, please do so as well. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm to help grow this channel and help more people as well. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Thanks.